All right, welcome everybody. Today is September 13th, 2021. I hope you all had a great weekend. Can't wait to jump in today's agency call with our guest, Chris Wassarman. Our topic today is very relevant, and I cannot wait for everybody to hear this one. So a little bit of recognition. Submitted business last week, 277,287. We had 8 new writers. We do have an app count, 222 apps. Good activity. Number one producer of the week out of 68, Steve the Italian Stallion, 35,206. This is just the new normal for you. Great job. Chris Wasserman to my left with 13,210. Linda C, this is a new name on the board. I love that. 12,469. Tierra Brown, 12,113. Eddie Anderson, it was great to meet you both, you and Tierra, this weekend. That office is unbelievable. Eddie, like I said, great to meet you, buddy. 10,819. Orlando, no pain, no gain, with an unbelievable training that I got to experience. 10,196. The Ragin' Cajun on a road trip to North Texas, 8588. Jesse Parley, 8100. Lee Harrison, 7824. Mason Johnston on a road trip doing some remote sales. Great job, dude. 7326. Ben Roberts, 6908. Steph Cover, 6352. Mario Guajardo, 6168. Gerardo G, this is one of the best weeks, if not your best week. Great job coming back from a travel trip to Lubbock, 5981. Richard P, 5585. The Kangaroo Hartman, 5480. Jeremy Wright, good to see you back on the board, buddy, 5416. Alex Labrija getting used to his new territory, 5396. Eli M, it was good to see you. If we did not formally introduce ourselves in Steve's office, it was great to see you. 5,027, and then Jesse M rounding out the top 20. 4669. 8 new writers. Top of the list: Sonia G, James F, Hayden K, Grace S, Liz M, John S, Justin K, and Jessica D. Great job, guys. Keep the momentum going. Week 1 team issue pay. We got to pop this up to 300,000 a week, guys. We got so much new traction here. We need to make a big push in September to start breaking records and have this explosive growth that we are well poised to take. Number one producer, Steve Giordano, 18,870. Probably be at 50,000 next week after that $35,000 week. Great job, dude. Mario Guajardo, best issue paid week you've ever had. Congratulations, 13,687. Number 3, Julie Mung. What a top 10. There's a lot of new names on here. 11,895. Debbie Wilson, 7880. Caleb Sewell, 6574. Michael Valencia, 6125. You're probably smiling. These are all your guys. This is great. Jesse McKinney, 5915. Cedric the Kangaroo Hartman, 5520. Mario Garza, 5326. And Orlando, no pain, no gain, rounding out that top 10, 4,650. Number one agency, week 1, 99,686. Steve Giordano with Health and Wealth. Third Coast, Alex Labrija coming in that 2 spot, 31,816. Telos with Chris Wasserman, 25,277. Steph Cover, 24,144. And rounding out that 5 spot, Jesse Parley with FFL Avenues, probably going to look better next week, 20,264. Now, the topic, this is great. So if you notice, Chris was not in the top 10, which he's not excited about that. But what is exciting is that his team issue paid 25,000 outside of him, which is unbelievable. So the topic today is how to be a top producer, new senior sales manager here, how to bounce back and truly capitalize on new opportunities. So Chris, I know you've been a guest, but it was a long time ago and you didn't really know what you were doing. You were just blindly moving forward, which is great. Running through walls, which is always awesome to see. Then you had some monster months, and then you had a dip. There was 2 down months. This past month, we had a conversation. You said you were re-engaged, wanted to take it to the next level. You were ready to go, and you IP'd what last month?
56 or 57,000.
That's hard to do after 66, 60, whatever you were doing 2 months in a row. Had a dip. Most of it was post-dated business. So you had it looked better than it was. 43,000, I think, was that last month. And then it was 18,000 before that $56,000 month. Yeah. So I think the hardest thing in this business to do is to have all the momentum in the world, lose all the momentum, then have to scratch and climb and bite your way out of a hole to then have another monster month. So what was your mindset going in to last month?
I can't have a month like I did before.
That's fair. That's motivation enough.
It's basically my motivation. I knew what my goals were coming into this, and I knew that $18,000 was just not going to cut it. And I shot myself in the foot there. I was on vacation for too many weeks, and it didn't look good. It hurt really bad, and I knew that I could either quit, which I wasn't going to do, or I could come back and do what I was doing before. And so basically, that's what I ended up doing. What I really focused on, though, and what I've been working on for a while, is being able to figure out how to be a personal producer and still be able to grow an agency, because that's obvious. Go ahead. Yeah.
So that's what I really want to focus on, which is so relevant to, I would guess, of all the people on this list right now. I know Orlando is going through this. I know I struggle with it. Steve, you struggle with it. I know Tierre struggles with it. I know Eddie's trying to grow. I know Janine Capuzzo is trying to grow. I know Garrett's trying to go. And everybody goes through this. It's how the heck do we balance a $50,000 month while still having your team write business? And you went from having the worst month you've had financially in a long time to having the best month financially because of personal production. But most importantly, your team really stepped up. And for the first time, you've experienced what income looks like at a senior sales manager level, which we were talking in the car was pretty close to 10,000 of override income, which meant your people made a lot of money while you made a lot of money in personal production. And now you're carrying that momentum into this month. So let's break that down. As you put your focus on it, I think you did all the wrong things at first when you had your $60,000 months. And I did it too. I mean, this isn't a dig at all. This is just
that's how it is.
This is just how it is. You have to do it. Your team was effectively doing nothing when you were writing 60,000. Like nothing. And then the team, like when you left the team, the few writers that you had, you really came back last month, when you came back last month and said you're going to refocus, you were starting at zero. You really were,
effectively.
And how did you then like digest that, say, and not throw up and say, I'm going to take this and I'm going to bring the energy back to the team while at the same time leading by example?
So a lot of it was just me figuring out. So I looked at what I was doing in the past, and it wasn't working. And we all know the definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So I knew that I had to try to figure something out. And when I got into this originally, I did a lot of the wrong things, and I got excited about every new agent that came in. And I was trying to spend all my time with every agent while still trying to produce at a high level. And there's not enough hours in the day to do that. So I felt overworked. I was getting really discouraged. I was making a lot of money, but I was still feeling discouraged because I had no time. Like what's the point of all this money if I have no time to spend with my family or friends or anything? And so what I was able to do was figure out a way to divert my time, to spend more time with agents that are actually serious about this, and no time or a small amount of time with agents that aren't really. And so what I figured out was, if I spend the appropriate amount of time with agents that are willing to work and that they want to work and they actually want to make something of themselves, I can spend the amount of time that is necessary to build them and to help them grow and answer their questions and turn them into a high level producer, while still being able to focus on my production so that I can fund everything and whatnot and still have not lose that touch as far as being a personal producer. So I started focusing my time on other agents that they were doing the right things. They were asking the right questions. I would tell them to do something and they would actually do it. And they were asking me appropriate questions, and they were getting into the training. They were on these calls. They were doing all the right things. And so I would spend time with them. And as I was doing that, I realized that I'd get off the phone with them. I was fielding more phone calls from those few agents. And I was spending all my time with them. And when I was done spending my time with them and coaching them, I realized I had all this extra time that I didn't know what to do with, because I never felt like that before. I get off the phone with them and I would be on the phone with somebody else who wasn't doing anything and they weren't serious about it. And then I try to fit in my own personal production on top of that. And I just felt so stretched. But then this month, the last month and a half or so, I started to figure out how to actually focus my time on the right people, and that opened up my schedule so much that I was able to continue doing my personal production stuff. And I was able to spend time with my family. I was able to have dinner with my kids. So, and it just came down to changing what I was doing and having more intentional time on certain agents rather than a little bit of time on a plethora of agents.
What were some things that used to trick you in the beginning that made you want to spend a lot of time with the wrong agent?
I got excited over every single agent. I had somebody new that they were on board, and I got really excited about them just because I tricked myself into thinking that every agent they're going to produce. And that's just not, it's not the reality of this thing. So
the dream is to build, but ultimately if you handle it the wrong way, it's soul crushing.
It's soul crushing. I get very discouraged. I get very discouraged. I was making money, but it was all based on my personal production. I wasn't getting any overrides or anything. There was no fruits of my labor in the production side. So that had to change because I wanted to build. That's why I got into this, really, is to build. And actually, I was going to answer your question. I forgot what you just asked.
Sorry, I distracted us. It was what were some of the things that would trick you in the beginning to think that a brand new agent would be a person to pour into it, when really it was like, man, if I heard that today, like you hear it today and you're like, yeah, I'm probably not going to spend the time because that's a red flag. I had to learn that this is a red flag.
Yeah.
What were some of those red flags that you could encourage people to look for that are building now? Like Tier, Janine, Garrett, all these new sales managers that are coming in. What should they look for?
What should they look for, not listen for? And I think that's key right there. So in the beginning, I would hear them. They would say all the right things. I'd get super excited about them because of what I heard, but then I saw nothing. There was no action or very little. So now what I do is I'll give them tasks, right? So I get them on the phone and then I tell them to, get in boot camp, enroll in it, have it done in it takes a few days, right? To get through it properly, right? It doesn't take 2 weeks. It doesn't take a month. You can't do it in a day either. It takes a few days, 3-4 days, I think, to appropriately go through it, digest the information, write down some questions, and then to go over it with me. So I'll have them do boot camp. And if they're actually doing it, I spend more time with them because they're showing me. I have them jump on these calls and I'll get on the phone with them after. Hey, what do you think about that call? Or they'll send me a text message after the call and tell me their thoughts on it. So I stopped listening to what people were saying and I started watching what people were doing.
It's huge.
And that was huge. And that really is what changed everything for me. So I would see the ones that are serious. And then from the ones that I saw actually doing something, I was willing to spend my time coaching them and investing into them versus just listening to what people were saying. And then right off the bat, boom, here's all my time, here's everything. I just stopped doing that. And so I get a lot of my time back. And I was able to watch what people were doing and spend time with those agents. And some of the agents that were actually taking these steps and doing things before, I still wasn't spending enough time with because I was so focused on everybody else coming in, that even those agents who stuck around, thank you for sticking around, because I don't know if I would have.
The two names that I think of are Michael Valencia and Caleb.
That's what was in my head. Yeah, Michael Valencia and Caleb Sewell. And so I'll take Mike, for example. He came in, he was doing all the right things. He was saying all the right things. Anything that I told him to do, he was doing without questioning me. And, but he wasn't having that much success. And so what I realized was if I spend a little bit more time with him and actually hear what he says and take the amount of time to digest what he's saying and show him how to do this in a way that actually makes sense for him, rather than just telling him, hey, do this, do X, do A through Z. I was saying, all right, let's start here. I hear what you're asking me, but focus on A and B. Once we get A and B done, let me know, and then we'll move on to C and D, right? And that was able to help him so much that he, in the course of like probably just a couple of weeks, he went from struggling writing maybe like $1,000 or $1,200 a week to the last 3 weeks. I think he's been over $6,000.
It's amazing.
It's the coolest thing in the world to me. And like he calls me, and he goes, "Hey, so this is actually working," he says, because this is actually working. I said, dude, like mind blown, because I had the same I had the same revelation when I first started too. I would hear what you were saying. And like when it came to leads and buying leads, and like, dude, like the key to this is activity. Get good on the phones. Don't worry about in-home until you get good on the phones. You start setting appointments. And then once you set the appointments, then we'll worry about the in-home. In-home's a lot more simple than setting the appointments are. And so that's why I had Mike focus on, instead of trying to go over everything with him at once. I said, hey, buy more leads, buy more leads, buy more leads. What kind of leads? Every kind of lead. Every kind of lead, just buy more leads. It's all about volume, especially in the beginning. Learn how to overcome objections, learn how to set the appointments, learn how to set an actual schedule. And then you're going to axiomatically render results to what you're doing. And that's exactly what he did. And then the same exact thing happened with Caleb, and the same exact, it happens with every agent so far that I've been doing that with. Even if they were here before and they were struggling, now that I'm spending more time with them and coaching them in an appropriate way and just not overloading them with information, just hearing what they actually need help with right now in this moment, and then taking it step by step, they're producing at a way higher level than what they were before.
And I think the key here is that we all want immediate results, like, because personal production is such instant gratification that taking that approach with recruiting and building and developing people, it's going to kill the agent, which sucks because it's the agents that we care about. You know, the overwrites are great, but I think the most rewarding thing is seeing like a Caleb or a Michael, you know, make 20 grand in a month. Michael's 19.
Yeah.
You know, Caleb's young too. I don't know how young Caleb is, but I know he's not 30.
No.
And to see people that blossom a little bit later, but they're learning from all these mistakes and they become tactical in their approach to the business. And something that a lot of us have been guilty of early on in the business is that we just give up on those people. And then you can potentially lose a $30,000 a month producer easily, just because it takes a little bit longer. So versus the transactional approach, which I think you were taking, where it's like, dude, I'm making 60 grand a month for my own personal production. Why am I going to waste my time on this person? You went from doing that to like, okay, I'm now identifying, and this is what I suggest everybody start looking for. It's not an easy switch to flip, but you've got to, is that when you're talking to people, you can't be transactional. They can't feel like a number. They will not work. They will not overcome adversity if they think they're just a number, or if they're just a body on your squad. What you've done, Chris, is you've invested the time in the right people. So those conversations are not only, number one, not draining your energy, so you can still go out and protect and serve families effectively and make the big part of your income until you have a big team. I mean, personal production is always going to be over 70% of it, producing at a $50,000 level, but you're learning as much as they are about the business, and watching them grow has got to be rewarding. Now let's talk about, I want to talk about, so Michael says, oh my God, it's working. You do something better than any other agent. You sell equity protection like a gangster. It's eagle after eagle after eagle after eagle after eagle. And I used to call it critical period coverage, but you call it equity protection, which is a completely different pitch. And you're writing $7,500, $7,000 to $9,000 a week off of people over the age of 68. I would guess. Where this freaks out a lot of new agents. Getting a mortgage lead, it freaks you out too. Right? A $250,000, $300,000, $180,000 mortgage on a 72-year-old guy. People are like, I don't want this lead. You're like, dude, give me all of them. So let's talk about your mindset in approaching these, that you were able to coach people. So the building part, I love that. Like everything that you talked about, I think we touched on everything. We can circle back to it at the end if there's anything you want to add, but I want to add some actionable things for the new agents on this call. You get these leads, get a brand new lead pack. You're spending $70 frickin' a lead on these things. You get 10 in, you're dropping $700, and 8 out of the 10 are a big mortgage over the age of 65. Most people are like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? What do you think? What's your approach? What's your mindset? How do you set them? What times do you set them? And how do you set up the appointment when you get in the house?
Yeah. So first of all, they used to freak me out too. And it was like every lead that I got in, I wanted a mortgage protection lead, because it's so easy to sell the living benefits of these critical, chronic, terminal disability. Like anybody can sell that. Right. But such a large percentage of the leads that I was getting in, they were over the age of 60, or they had these big mortgages. And I was failing a lot in the beginning too, because I was bypassing those leads. Essentially, I was writing them off. I'd go, but I really wouldn't sell it properly. So I figured that I had to, if this is what I'm going to be dealing with, I have to get good at selling them, essentially. And so now what I do is I look at it, and once I see the lead, it's no longer a mortgage protection lead. It's an equity protection lead. It's just a different kind of lead type, right? And so the way that I pitch it is, it's all about equity. So when I go through the financial inventory sheet,
does it start on the phone, or does it start in home?
Starts in home. Okay. My phone script is the same no matter what, whether they're 25 or whether they're 70.
Got it.
So my phone script doesn't change. Once I get in the house and I start going through the financial inventory sheet, that's when that's where I start to set the stage. When I get to the part on the inventory sheet that talks about the equity in the house, or how much the house value.
Let's role play that, just so I want everybody to hear how you do it.
Okay. And so I do have a training video up on YouTube with Tyler Knox that goes through the entire thing.
Okay.
You can also see it on ffltlos.com. I have the training video there.
Let's just talk about some of the key phrases that you use leading into this pitch.
So when I get to the house value, I ask him, what's the value of your house? If you're going to sell the house tomorrow, what could you get for it? And then,
my loan's 150, but I think we could probably sell it for like 225.
okay, so you have some equity there. So that's good. And that's obviously what we want to protect is the equity. We want to make sure that God forbid something happens to you, even if we're not able to cover the entire mortgage today, we want to make sure that whoever it is left behind, your wife, has enough money to continue making the mortgage payments for a period of time. And then if she has to sell it, she can go ahead and sell it at that point. And that's where that big payout's going to come from. That's where she gets all the money, and then we can keep the bank out of it. And at the end of the day, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. And then I move on. Okay.
Wow,
So
I
what,
love that.
yeah. So then I go to the mortgage payment. So how much is your mortgage right now? How much you pay a month?
1250.
So all right, is that escrow, so property tax and all that are included?
That's all in. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And are you paying anything additional towards the mortgage right now? Or are you good at the 1200?
I'm good at the 1200.
Yeah, I always tell people, man, if the bank has enough money, so if we can get someone in your pocket, let's do that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I like that.
Yeah. So then, and then I go through the, how old are you, your date of birth and blah, blah, blah. And then occupation, are you retired, disabled, employed? What do you do? Monthly income. So I just go through the entire thing. And then after I do, if I'm there for you, right, and the spouse is there, I say, all right, Rob, so is this coverage you're looking for just you or for you and, Mary?
Both of us.
Okay. So then I just do the same thing with Mary. Mary, what, how old are you, your date of birth, occupation, the whole nine. And then I reiterate, say, all right, now, depending on how old they are. So let's just say that they're 65 or 70 years old. I say, all right. So typically what we do, or most people do in your situation, is anybody over the age of 60, 61, really, we start looking at what's called equity protection. Okay. So instead of covering the entirety of the mortgage, you owe 150 or $200,000 on your mortgage. Covering that is going to be astronomically expensive. It doesn't make any sense. So instead, what most people do is we cover a period of time. So we'll take the mortgage payment you're paying, for the sake of easy math, let's just say $1,000 a month, and we'll multiply that out by 12 or 18. And that's going to be what the face amount is, the benefit. And so what that looks like is, God forbid something happens to you, Rob, Mary is going to get a check for $12,000 or $18,000. And that's going to allow her to continue to make that mortgage payment every single month without having to worry about having to come up with the additional funds to make the mortgage. We can keep the bank out of it. You don't have to worry about the house getting repossessed. It's going to give her time to grieve if she has to go through the grieving process, go through the house, find some memorable things that she doesn't want to get rid of, and pack the house up if she has to. And it's going to help her with the income replacement, because your income is going to be gone. So she's going to have all this extra money. She's not going to have to worry about losing the house. And if she, in a year or so, she ends up having to sell the house, she has enough time to go through the process properly. She can find another place to live. She can list the house and sell it for a value that it's actually worth, and not have to worry about the bank repossessing it on her. And then when she sells it, that's where that big payout comes, right? So that's where all that equity goes. And then I just flip it over. I said, so let's just look at a few different options for you guys. I think we can get you covered.
Wow, that's fire, dude. It's so clearly communicated. It's transparent. I think something that I had done in the past is I wouldn't even mention face amount. I only sold time. That's how I was taught to do it. And then they'd see the policy, and then sometimes they would cancel it. With this, they know what they're buying. It's so transparent. It's concise. It's communicated well. It's quick. That pitch is freaking quick. You've now taken the need for a big face amount of life insurance completely off the table. And then you've basically said, when you sell the house, that's going to be your tax-free benefit that comes from this. So we're going to kill two birds with one stone. We're going to sell peace of mind. You're going to get the peace of mind, and then you're going to get that big payout, but only if she needs it.
Yeah. Like the money's coming.
The money's coming. That is really good. What's your average deal size when you sell that to, let's do if you just do it on the guy, and then if you do it on the husband and wife.
So for each individual policy is probably between $1,300 and $1,600, I'd say, is my average.
That's such a safe sale. Like it doesn't hurt too bad if it charges back. It's great commission, and it's easy for them to pay.
Yeah. Actually, I really, I really don't like those huge policies, the $3,000, $4,000 policies, because those chargebacks really hurt.
That's just something only a new agent gets excited about.
Yeah.
A veteran agent is like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd
rather, because it's so easy. It's so easy to cancel that.
Yeah.
This month hurts. What can we cut? Maybe this $400 payment or whatever it is.
So that's because of how quick that is. I'd imagine those sits are like 30 minutes or so.
Depends if I'm doing both. If I have two applications, I'm usually out of there. A long appointment would be an hour. Probably 40, 45 minutes, I'd say, with an app.
What objections do you get when you're pitching that?
To tell you the truth, I don't get a ton of objections, man. I just don't. The biggest objection that I get is the amount of money. So $30,000. So or $20,000, and you're paying, $140 a month for it. If sometimes I'll hear, well, that's a lot of money. And then if they're like 70 years old, I say, yeah, 30 grand is a lot. I'm surprised they're giving you that. To be honest with you, well, no, the amount that I'm paying per month, the premium. And then I'll just say, like, this is real money. It's like an actual $30,000 that your wife's going to get. I said, if I gave you a check for $30,000 right now, I think that'd be pretty helpful, right? Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, the insurance company is taking a pretty big risk. You're 70 or 72 years old right now, and they're still willing to pay out, $30,000. So $140 a month at somebody 72 years old, that's going to help your wife out. I don't think is that big of a pill to swallow.
That's awesome. Right. And if you could pitch it enough, like you could just say, like, dude, if I gave you 30 grand right now, would you give me $140 a month to repay that? Like, would you repay it at zero interest?
Yep.
You're like, heck yeah, I would.
Yep. Another one that I get is, just totally lost my train of thought. Objection. What the heck was I going to say? Oh yeah. So another one that I get is, well, if I just put the $140 a month in a stock or something, I could have that money. Right. And then I think that's a pretty simple one to overcome. Well, the entire point of this coverage is we're hedging against death, right? Like, yeah, you could do that. If you live for another 15 years and you put $140 a month away in a stock or something, or an annuity, or, whatever. Yeah, you might get, 30 grand back. But what happens if you die tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now?
That's a really respectful way to say, don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And you're training your people on that. So now they're not afraid of those older sits.
Right. Yeah.
Or those older people. And they know how to communicate that when they're running, no matter what type of lead. They know how to approach it.
Yeah, and they're doing well with it.
They're doing well with it. You've done a virtual sale.
I have.
Want to touch this briefly on this?
Yeah. So virtual sale wise, I do it. I mean, it's identical to my in-home. I should probably, maybe there's a better way to do it. I'm still figuring it out, but I do it exactly the same way.
You're 1 for 1 so far.
In total, before I started focusing on virtual sales, I had like 6, since the beginning. I think I'm 4 for 6.
That's not bad,
which isn't bad. And it was the first 2 that I did that I didn't sell. So I think that's good. But yeah, I just do it identically to how I do my in-home. And like, even to the point where, I'll write the options down on the back of a paper and I hold it up to the camera.
You do that?
Yeah. And I just go over to them. And I think
people appreciate that.
Yeah, I think they appreciate it. It's transparent. I mean, it's just, I'd like to stay away. I don't want things that appear like too salesy. Like, I just want them to think like this is a normal dude that just has like best interests at heart. Like, I don't want to be that fancy. And whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But like, it works for me.
The less sales you are, the better results you're going to get.
Yeah,
you historically close 80% or more.
Yeah.
Of what you see.
Yep.
What else do you want to cover, man? This was great. These were the topics that I wanted to cover. We got a couple more minutes, and you're doing great. Your mindset has shifted a lot from where it was.
I don't know. I just think that for anybody that's trying to grow and you're struggling with, personal production and growth at the same time, I know for me, you would just figure it out. Like, just, you have to give people tasks that are not just busy work, but something that's actually going to help them out, and make sure that they're doing it. And it shouldn't require that much follow-up either. So just tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. You have a question. This is what you need to do. Do it. Like, step 1, don't give them a million things to do, but like, go through boot camp.
Which makes sense, because the more, like, if I would have told you you're one of the diamond guys, right? If I would have told you do 20 things, you probably would have been like, whoa, this is too much. In fact, I think that's probably why you ended up coming to my agency, because you got a checklist of things to do and then nobody ever talked to you again.
Yeah. Which is what happened. It's either that, like, you get overwhelmed and there's so many things to do, or you do like a little bit of each one, or like a little bit of some, and then nothing. It's just not smooth. So I try to keep it really smooth now with my people. And like, this is the first step. And what everybody wants to know is, all right, so after I get on the phone and book the appointments, what do I sell them? What product should I sell? What do I do at home? How do I present it? And then it's very simple. Just like, don't worry about that, because you don't have to worry about that until you actually set the appointment. So focus on setting the appointment. Get really good at setting the appointments. Then I promise you, everything else is going to fall into place. Give me a call after you have your appointment set for the next day, before you go, and I'll go over that with you. We'll game plan it. So just tell me what the lead is. So they set their appointments and they get good at that. And then they call me the next day. And then I say, all right, so what's the first appointment you're going to? That's the only one I care about, is the first one. I don't care about the fourth one. The first one. Okay. Well, they're this old. What about their medical conditions? They, had they have COPD or whatever the
Are
case
you
is.
having your people prep the cases on the back too?
They prep so they'll prep the cases. And I have them call me in home right now for the first 7 to 10 sales.
Good.
After they go through the financial inventory sheet, call me no matter what. Even if it's exactly what we discussed before you went to the appointment, call me no matter what. Just want to make sure. Get them into the habit. It's okay to call me in the house, not after you leave. Call me in the house. And that's been working too. And so I think that just key takeaway, give new agents immediate tasks that are relevant and important. So I only go over the things that they absolutely need right now in order to make a sale tomorrow.
That's good.
Get on the phone, buy leads, get on the phone, set the appointments. Call me tomorrow before your appointment and we'll go over everything else.
And from a time allocation standpoint too, now you've got time because you're not spending 45 minutes of phone call. You're spending 7 to 10.
Great point.
Minutes.
Yeah. And so it's like I have more energy now and like I'm more excited to talk to them because I know they're going to be quick phone calls and they're doing like, these are the agents that are doing what I'm telling them to do. So it's like, I appreciate that. And if somebody is giving me 100% of what they have, then I'm giving you 110% of what I have. I promise you that. And I think that my agents know that. Like I have their best interests at heart and I'm spending the amount of time that's necessary to spend with them right now. And by doing that, just with the agents that actually deserve it and to do what I say, I have a lot of my time back, even though I'm spending more time with them. More time with the right agents equals more time for your personal stuff.
And that just improves everything.
Everything is better. Everything is better. Yeah. Everything's better.
What advice do you give to people in your position who are writing a bunch of business, the $30,000, $40,000 a month producers that are like, I just don't know how to get started. How do you coach them on how to take that first step? And what advice do you give these people, these soon to be builders or current builders that are struggling with the mindset of like, I want to throw in the freaking towel because it's just not working?
Yeah. Well, so I would say, tell me exactly what isn't working.
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what it is.
Everything you've been through, like you got the first 3 months were soul crushing.
Yeah.
And then you didn't give up. You decided to do it again, but to change your approach. How would you coach Caleb? Pretend like we're talking to Caleb, or anybody who's trying to build on your team who said, I'm so frustrated right now. I just don't know if I want to build anymore.
Yeah. Well, so I would say that you knew coming into this, that it was going to be a little bit frustrating if you want to build, but building is a key to long-term success. So you want to alleviate frustration, then the best thing you can do is to get through this period because it's temporary. We all go through. I went through it. You went through it. Everybody show me somebody that has a big agency that hasn't gone through that, and I'll point to a liar.
Exactly.
Right. Because that's how it is. So then I'll just tell them, tell me exactly what you're struggling with right now. Well, it's, whatever. Let's say it's, I'm getting no-showed. Well, let's work on your phone script and setting better appointments. And I'll work on, I'll help them do that. Or typically what it is, it's just setting a bad schedule. So it's setting 2 appointments tomorrow and like 1 for like 4 days from now, and then like 2 days after that. Well, let's change that. We need a minimum of 4 appointments tomorrow.
Yeah.
Minimum of 3 appointments, maybe like the next day.
Zach Twardowski is like, if he says, how many appointments do you have at the beginning of the call? How many appointments do you have tomorrow? If it's not 6, he says, why are you calling me? You get back on the phone. Another thing, and we can wrap on this, but another thing I started to say that has taken so much pressure off, and this is something that hurts a lot of managers in the beginning, that really kills their morale and their excitement, is agents that you hire that are broke coming in, that try to make that your problem. So you buy them leads and then they don't then produce. I had the conversation this morning with somebody. I said, I want to be straightforward with you. I cannot fix all of the reasons and all of the things that happen to get you to this point where you can't afford to buy your first set of leads. I'm running a business. I want you to run a business. I want you to be very successful in your business, but it is not my responsibility for you to figure out how to make your first lead purchase. We were very transparent about that. You're going to need to spend X amount of money on your first lead purchase. If you don't have that, or you can't come up with it, this is not going to be a good fit. So let's do this. Why don't we call it? Why don't you call me when you have a credit card or someone gave you whatever to buy your first set of leads? Because what we do is we get so desperate and so needy and so excited. We're like, yep, I got your first set of leads. Here's $600 worth of leads. And then all they do is call you and complain about how bad they are. No matter how hard it is now for me to say no to somebody, I'm not doing it. You got to have skin in the game. And that's part of what killed your morale. You're like, I dropped 10K on leads in 3 months and nothing came from them. They all quit.
Yeah, I've been burnt a lot on buying leads. So
you can't do it. You can't do it.
Love you brought that up.
I cannot reverse all of the decisions you made to get you here right now in front of me in my office, and you telling me you don't have money for leads when I was extremely clear by saying you cannot come here broke.
And let me just add to that like it's exactly those agents that aren't able, right, quote unquote, able to come up with the money for the first lead purchase that aren't going to do anything. Like those are the ones that are not going to do anything. Those are the ones you don't want to spend a lot of time with. The ones that are going to come here, because the thing is, like, even after you get those leads, it's still going to be a lot of work. It just is. You have to put the time in. You can make a lot of money here. You can make more money here than probably anywhere else, but it's not free. It's not free, and it's not easy. As the saying goes, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And I think that's true. It's not easy, but you can do it. It's real. So the agents that aren't able to come up with the funds are the agents that really don't believe in themselves. And that's why they're not going to come up with the funds. And it's those same agents that they don't have the proper work ethic. That's why they're afraid.
That's what it is.
Yeah, right. Because they're afraid to make the investment into themselves because they don't want to lose the money. They're afraid to lose the money because they don't have the work ethic, and they know that. At their core, they know that. If you believe in yourself, you will make that, you'll find a way to make that first lead purchase. If I said the life of somebody else, so a loved one, is in your hands, all you have to do is write 3 policies this week. You're going to do it.
Figure it out.
You're going to figure it out. You just will. So if you just don't give me the excuse of I can't come up with $600 to spend on leads, because like in 3 days, you give me $600 today, and in 3 days I can show you $6,000.
Right.
I promise.
Right.
So just those are the agents that aren't worth investing in, and you're going to get burnt. You're going to spend a lot of money on them, and it's going to be frustrating. You're going to get demotivated. You have to find the right agents that are willing to invest in themselves, because why are you going to invest in somebody that's not willing to invest into themselves? You're not.
That is it. So true. All right. Well, that's it, man. If there's any questions, I think we're here. Steve, if you want to unmute, if you want to do some Q&A, or if you got any follow-up, that'd be awesome. Fantoli has a question.
That was great, brother.
Fantoli, what's your question?
Hey, so I have a question about the equity protection. Have you ever ran into the objection of somebody that wants to that's an older person who wants to keep the house in the family, doesn't want to sell it, wants to keep as the family home, but their mortgage is like $180,000?
Yeah. So I'll run into that. So what I would say is, what does that look like? So you want to keep the house in the family. Are you more or less likely to keep the house in the family if 2 months after you pass away that Mary here isn't able to afford it? You're probably going to get it repossessed. So the best way to even come up with a means to keep the house in the family is by giving her enough time to figure out how to do that. And in order to do that, you have to be able to afford the mortgage. So let's let her afford the mortgage for a year and a half. Let her figure it out. And there's, if she has to refinance the house, it's going to give her time to do that. Your best way to keep the house in the family is by giving her the funds to be able to make the mortgage payment, because the bank isn't going to the bank isn't just going to forgive the loan. Huh?
The camera, we're looking at ourselves, but the camera.
Yeah, we have a screen right here.
That's so funny.
So that's it, Tony. The most logical way to keep the house in the family is by giving Mary, or the wife, or the husband, whoever it is, the ability to continue making the mortgage payment so they can figure out how to do it. Because without the mortgage payment, you're not going to keep the house in the family. The bank's going to repossess it. They don't care that you want to keep it in the family.
Boom.
I like that.
Any questions on building at this level? I think the senior sales manager position is one of the hardest to get to, and then break through to the VP. And once you're a VP, it's easier to build on top of that. But between that 50 and 100,000, so much that is heavily relied on your own personal production. There's got to be some questions, whether it's Janine, I'm calling names out here now, Janine, Tier, Orlando, you've hit it, but how do you explode through it? How do you break through it? Steve, yell at them.
Will do.
I mean, if there's nothing, we can wrap it, but you got a guy here right now that completely turned it around from a 180, from starting from scratch to popping off, 120,000. If there's no questions, we've got recordings. You can rewatch this. I think there was a lot of good coaching, a lot of good tips on this. So as always, let's have a big week. Let's go out and protect American families. Let's finish this month strong. 5-week month. Let's make it a record, and can't wait to see you all next Monday.